The Easy Gourmet is sponsored by The Scoreboard Sports Bar and Grill. Come visit us at 15 Middlesex Canal Park in Woburn, 781-897-4000.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Easy Gourmet. I'm your host and chef Vinnie Ferlisi. Today we have a couple of recipes. Today we have a chicken recipe which is called Mediterranean chicken that has a sauteed chicken breast with sun-dried tomatoes, capers, artichoke hearts, finished off with some Kalamata olives, make a little bit of a sauce, and that's our first recipe. And our second recipe is steak Italian style. We'll be taking the raw steak itself, cutting it on the bias, pounding those out into a fine cutlet, and then sauteing those and finishing it off with mushrooms, butter, and a vermouth. So why don't we get started? What I have here is a couple of chicken breasts. I already cut this into two pieces. What I want to show you how to do that is take your chicken breast. You don't want it this thick. We're going to pound them out a little bit, but this is a little too thick to pound. So we put it, what I like to do is put it on the edge of our cutting board, at the edge of our counter. That way, when you put your knife through it, you'll have your knuckles over the floor instead of over the cutting board, and that way your knife will be at a perfect 90-degree angle. If you have your knuckles on the cutting board, your knife may not lay may lay at a 45, and your cutlet won't come as thin as you'd like it. So what we want to do is we just want to cut this. You have to have a very sharp knife to do this. And that's all you want to do. It's just kind of cut that into two pieces. And what we want to do is we want to just pound them out just a little to get it evenly proportioned, so it'll cook at the right, it'll cook all at the same time. So what I like to do is I get a plastic bag, regular plastic bag, or you can use plastic wrap, whatever you'd like. Just put one or two of them in the bag. And just kind of pound them out lightly with a rolling pin. If you have a meat mallet, you can use a meat mallet, but I always like to use something that I already have in the house. You want those about ½ an inch or so, maybe a little less. And toss those in flour, which I already have measured out. We're going to coat these with flour. So just leave those there for now. The other two, like I say, you don't want to pound them out that you can see through them. Just kind of pound them out that you can, so that you can have them equivalent all the way through. And that's all you want to do. And just knock the excess off. What I like to do is put it on a cookie rack. That way the flour will dry on the chicken. If you lay it flat on a flat surface, the air won't get to the underneath it. Get rid of this. Wash my hands. You want to get your pan started, medium-high heat. And while I'm doing that, we want to cut up the, let's just get this out of the way. What I want to do is cut up what we're going to be using for vegetables. I already cut up the sun-dried tomatoes into slivers. Don't mince them. Just, the sun-dried tomatoes are about as big as a $50, give or take. So I just want to kind of slice them Just make nice little slices out of them. Don't mince them, because then there won't be anything left, because we're on high heat and the heat will kind of break them apart. And I have capers, about 3 or 4 tablespoons of capers, and some artichoke hearts. These are the canned artichoke hearts. I drain them and I wash them to kind of get some of that briny taste out of them, that kind of canned briny taste. And all you want to do is just kind of half those. Now we get those ready. Get rid of the excess, we don't need that. Let's see how our pan's doing. Should take a moment or so to heat up. A little bit of oil, about a tablespoon, just enough to cover the bottom. A little salt and pepper on the chicken breasts. Again, I always use kosher salt. I think it has more flavor. You can do your own taste comparison. You'll see what I mean. A little bit of black pepper. Can do both sides. And I think we are ready to go, because the oil is at smoking temperature. So we can just saute those. Maybe a little higher. These will take about 4 minutes per side. You want to check them after about 3 minutes. If you have more than 4 breasts, you can do them in batches. Don't crowd your pan. It'll lower the temperature too quickly. All right, we're going to turn these. We just check them. They're nice and golden brown. They almost look good enough to eat. Don't be afraid when you're sautéing things to cook on medium high. As long as you keep your eye on it, you should be okay. Sometimes, if you have this on medium or a little lower, you're going to steam the chicken. You're not going to get that nice crust on it. So, don't be afraid to have your pan to have some substantial heat to it. And we need another 2 or 3 minutes on this side. Okay. And we just want to check these, see how they're doing. And they're nice and brown on the other side. So we want to plate these and keep them in a warm place. Shut the heat off. Then we got our other ingredients. Maybe just lower the pan just a little bit. We have our sun-dried tomatoes, our artichokes, 2 or 3 tablespoons of capers, a nice little brine in there, and some chopped up Kalamata olives without the pits. Heat that up a little bit. And deglaze the pan with about a cup or so of chicken stock. What you want to do is reduce the chicken stock by half. There's about a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup. Kind of get everything heated up and kind of gelled together. It's going to take a few seconds to kind of get going. And I got a little bit of chopped parsley. As I said in a couple of previous shows, I like to use flat Italian parsley. I think it tastes better. But the choice is yours. Use whatever you want. You want to get this kind of, like I say, you got about 3/4 of a cup of fluid. of liquid. You want to get that down to about a quarter cup or so. So we'll got the heat raised to get it going. Actually, while that's going, why don't I cut the, I'll show you how to cut the steak for the next recipe, which is steak Italian style. This is just regular sirloin steak. It's about 12 to 13 ounces here. So what we want to do is, what we'll do is I want to keep my board clean, so I've already washed this off. And we want to do the same thing. Just kind of cut those in slices. About an inch or so, half an inch to an inch. We're going to pound these out into thinner slices so they'll cook a little more, they'll cook faster. And we'll just leave that on for now. We'll check our sauce. I know I'm doing two things at once here, but so we're down about, you could add some hot pepper flakes to this if you wanted to kind of give it a little more zing if you would like. And put the chicken breasts back in and let them cook a little with all the vegetables. I'm going to do this for about a minute or so. And put the juice that came out of the chicken, put that back in also. We want to let this go for about a minute. Actually, at this point, might want to add a little bit more parsley. Kind of gives it a nice balance with the red, the maroon of the olives, and the light green of the artichokes. And of course, we're going to finish this off with a little bit of butter. What isn't good? What isn't good without butter? It'll thicken that sauce up a little bit. If you don't want to use the butter, you don't have to, but it gives it kind of a richness, and it kind of binds the whole dish together. So you can see that sauce is thickened up, looks really good. The chicken's absorbing that. I just want to take it off the heat and we can serve it. What I've done beforehand is I made up a little bit of rice pilaf. We'll just move this for a minute. You can use white rice if you'd like. Rice pilaf kind of gives it a little more of a richness to this dish. And just kind of serve it up any kind of way you like. Spread that out in a flat dish, round dish, whatever you'd like. Come back to the chicken. And you can just lay those into the rice. And put all the sauce on top. And all the vegetables. And again, finish that off with a little bit of parsley. And there you have it, Mediterranean chicken on a bed of rice pilaf.
The Easy Gourmet is sponsored by The Scoreboard Sports Bar and Grill. Come visit us at 15 Middlesex Canal Park in Woburn, 781-897-4000.
All right, let's get back to our steak dish. We have our steak cut into about 1/2-inch slices. We want to get our pan going. And we want to do the same thing with these as we did with the chicken. Bang these out to, let me just wash my hands quick. You bang these out to about 1/4 of an inch. And make sure they're nice and even when you do that. That way they'll cook evenly. You can use sirloin steak for this, tenderloin steak, but I think something with a little marbling is going to give you a little bit more flavor. Kind of feel them, just make sure they're kind of evenly pounded through. Just a couple more. Like I said, if you do use a couple more, depending on how many people you have for guests, or if it's just for, actually you could serve this as a, like on a buffet table. Cook these in batches. Again, you don't want to overcrowd the pan. By doing this, so by pounding these out, does break the fibers down, so even a cut of meat that has a little bit of fat on it will kind of break it down and actually make it more tender. Let's just get rid of this. Get rid of that. And we want a little bit of salt and pepper on these. Oops. Not too much, just enough to kind of give it a little flavor. And a little bit of pepper. And that's all you have to do. And a little bit of oil, again, not too much, just enough to kind of coat the bottom of the pan. And wait a minute or so to see if you get a little bit of smoke going. That should be about a minute or so. As you can see, it's starting to smoke. I think we're probably ready. We're on medium-high, maybe a little close to high, but medium-high. You want these to sizzle. We're going to go about 3 minutes or so on each side. Let those cook. Okay, I think we're ready to turn. All right, these have been going for about 2 minutes or so. You want them kind of medium to medium rare. You don't worry about having a little pink in it. It's, you don't want to dry them out. So you go a couple of minutes on each side. Or till you like it. If you like them a little more rare, you make them rare. And we'll go 2 minutes. See the nice crust on here? You let your pan get hot, you're going to get a nice crust, a nice even color all the way across the surface. Let those go for another 2 minutes. Okay, I think we're ready to take these off. Let me just check. Yep. Let those rest under the heat lamp. If you don't have a heat lamp, you can put them in your oven at 140 to let them rest. Now what we want to do is we want our mushrooms. I got about 2 cups of mushrooms here, depending on how much steak you have, maybe 2 cups per person, I mean a cup per person. Get this back in the heat. Right now the oil's a little kind of absorbed, just get a little bit on there just to get this going, not too much more, like a tablespoon or a little less, just so to get the mushrooms going. And while these are sauteing, I just want to remind everybody that if you have any questions about the show, or if you just have any questions on how to cook certain things, the holidays are coming up. Our website that we have set up is wpmceasygourmet@gmail.com. And if you have some questions or some suggestions for the show, or you want to see something different than than normal, we could do that. So we'll give it a shot. I'll try to answer them when I get a chance, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, we have these kind of sauteing a little bit. Now we're going to add a little bit of vermouth. I knew the vermouth was somewhere. Use it. If you don't want to use vermouth, you can use chicken broth or your favorite white wine, whatever you want to use. I suggest white here. I think if you use red wine in this recipe to make this sauce, it's a little heavy. You can give it a shot, but I find it a little heavy. Always put if you're going to use alcohol, always put it off the flame. Let that cook a little. What we want to do is put a little basil, a little chopped basil in this while it's cooking down, just to give it a little extra flavor, and I have a little sage. With the basil, you just want to get the leaves, you roll them up, get rid of the stems, roll it up into a cigar type thing, and just kind of what they call in France chiffonade. Chiffonade that a little bit. Don't chop this because it'll turn black and you won't be able to get the flavor out of it. It'll completely dissipate. And a little bit of sage, which is kind of nice. Sage is very earthy, kind of an earthy kind of taste to it. Get that going a little bit. And put the meat back in, your steak back in. To absorb some of that wine, some of the flavor from the herbs, and put that juice that always comes out from meat when you let it rest. Don't be afraid to put that back in. And kind of let those flavors all gel together. Maybe we'll go for a little bit more basil. Don't be afraid to use fresh herbs. I love fresh herbs in all my dishes. I think they're way better than spices. I know sometimes you do need spices, but when you have a chance to use fresh herbs, I think you should do that, because I think the flavors will just explode. And when you're using fresh herbs, always use them at the end of the recipe. Do not use them at the beginning, because that fresh flavor, it'll be gone. It'll all cook through, and you won't get the fresh finish like you would as if you put them in at the end. You want to get all those flavors mixed in with the steak. And you know something? We're close to being done. Let's just get a dish. Shut this off.
The Easy Gourmet is sponsored by The Scoreboard Sports Bar and Grill. Come visit us at 15 Middlesex Canal Park in Woburn, 781-897-4000.
I have some arugula here, and I used it on a couple of past shows. What it is, it's a nice green. It has a nice peppery finish to it. This is baby arugula. If you can find the baby, it's actually much nicer. It's not as strong as the as the full-grown arugula. This has been washed and dried. You know what you might want to do? I'm not a big fanatic on buying newfangled gadgets and that kind of thing, but one of those salad spinners is very useful. That's what I used for this. I washed it out, I dumped it out of the bag, put it in the salad spinner, gave it a nice rinse, and there was some grit actually at the bottom, so those actually work pretty good, not just for salad, but many other greens. I use it also for the basil. So that's kind of a nice thing to have, and I haven't done it, but a chef friend of mine tells me you can actually make whipped cream with those, so there's another useful thing. So on the arugula, we want a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and we're going to use, where are we? I'm sorry. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil. It's a little strong. You don't want to cook with extra virgin, but it's really good on arugula. Just a little bit. And a little bit of balsamic vinegar. You're probably saying, well, what balsamic vinegar do I use? Because there's so many on the shelf. Well, you're going to have to try them, but I have noticed the ones that are really, really expensive actually go down really smoothly. That's about all I can tell you as far as balsamic vinegar. Most of them are from Modena in Italy, but if you have time or if you have the money and you want to experiment with some expensive ones, you'll see the difference. Now we want our steak. You could make up individual dishes with this. You don't have to make it as a family style. You just kind of lay those across all around the edge. And put a little bit of mushrooms. Put the mushrooms in the middle, or do whatever you want. It's always chef's choice on the Easy Gourmet. It's supposed to be easy, so. And I just want to finish that off just with a little bit more fresh basil. This is the last of the fresh basil for the season. And just finish that off. And that's it. Steak Italian style on top of a bed of arugula. So that's our show for today. So these are our two dishes. Again, we have the Mediterranean chicken with sun-dried tomatoes, Kalamata olives, and artichoke hearts. And this is the steak Italian style. We pounded that out, and we lightly seasoned them, and we sauteed them. And we had lots of fresh herbs. You don't have to use sage and basil. Anything, tarragon would be nice, chervil, anything like that. Any fresh any fresh greens would be really great with this dish. So before we let you go today, let's just have a little taste of each and see how we did today. Because I'm thinking, you know, all this work, I should give it a shot here. Maybe just a little bit of rice. The chicken is very tender, but what I like about this dish is the nice brininess of the capers, balanced off with the olives. It's really good, really, really good. Let's try the other one. Let's see how we did here. The fresh herbs in this dish make the dish. I mean, the steak is very tender, but the herbs, the sage, the basil, it's all through the meat. It's delicious. Before we let you go today, again, our website for any questions you may have or any comments on the show is wpmceasygourmet.com and easygourmet@gmail.com. And one other thing is that This show wouldn't be able to happen if it wasn't for our good friends at the Scoreboard in Woburn. My friend Frank Vento, thank you for supplying the food for today's show. And this will probably be our last show before the holidays, so I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas and a very festive New Year. And again, these recipes are very easy. There are a little more complex ingredients than we have done in the past few shows, but I think you will not have any problem finding them in your regular supermarket or grocer. So again, this is Vinnie Ferlisi for the Easy Gourmet. Happy cooking.